Welcome back to the Playbook Podcast from Agency Focus. I'm John Suder. We're here with my evergreen co-host, Bart Mroz. Bart, I want to ask you about something that I think a lot of agency owners do, and most of them probably don't even realize it's a problem. Here's the pattern. They build a list of contacts. They work the list when they need business, and then they go quiet when things are good. And then 6 months later, they need pipeline again, and they wonder why nobody's calling back.
Hello? Well, that's not relationship building. That's just called harvesting.
I like that, harvesting.
It's not like your organs, though. Just harvesting. You show up when you need something, you take what you can get, and you just disappear. And then you act surprised when the field is just empty.
Yeah, it sounds one-sided. So, and this, from what you're telling me, most agency actually, that's how they run their biz dev, right?
Most of them, yeah. And the ones who do it the other way, the ones who are closing big deals consistently, they're not doing something complicated. They're just playing a longer game. They were already in the room when the decisions got made, not because they pushed it their way in, because they never left.
All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. Let's start here because there's a lot of advice out there about staying in touch with your network. Comment on their posts, send them articles, check in every quarter. And you have a strong opinion about all that, don't you?
I think most of it is just useless.
Say more.
You can do all of those things and still be completely forgettable. Stay in touch is not about how often it happens. It's how relevant you are. How often reach out doesn't matter nearly as much as whether what you're sending is actually useful to that specific person at that specific moment.
All right. So let's go to the elephant in the room, that quarterly check-in email.
It's just noise for them. It might make you feel like you're maintaining the relationship, but if the person on the other end reads it and thinks, okay, this is a person who wants to know if I have any work for them, you haven't strengthened anything. You're reminding them that you have a list and they're on it.
And you've been checked off the list. There's a question you ask in the article that you wrote that I want you to say here because I think it cuts right to it.
When you check in, whose needs are being actually served?
Yeah, I guess that's the test, right?
That is a test. And if your honest answer is mine, me, you're just harvesting. You're not building anything. The people I've watched build real, lasting books of business over decades, they pay attention. They notice when someone gets promoted and they say something real about it. Not, congrats, big news. They actually engage. They read what their contacts write and they have an opinion. They send one article that fits that person's situation, not a newsletter blast to 400 people at once, and they don't just click the button on LinkedIn that says happy birthday.
Right. So the personal touch is one, it feels like you know them. The other one is just check the box off, CRM, hygiene, HubSpot task.
I mean, how many people go congratulations on the job on LinkedIn? They're just pressing a button that's there,
Yep.
right? And
And
people
it's already
can tell the
pre-filled out.
Yeah, exactly. Then people can tell the difference immediately. I just saw somebody post the other day, like, oh, look, it's my birthday. All the bots are out.
Yeah. That's the worst.
Right?
That's the worst. All right. We're going to get away from LinkedIn for a second. Let's talk about the math here because I think when you lay it out, it reframes the whole thing.
So here's what I've seen over 25 years working with agencies and consultancies of all sizes. The average decision to bring in an outside firm from the first time someone seriously thinks about it to the moment they sign a contract takes 12 to 36 months.
12 to 36 months. That is a long ass time.
Yeah, most of the time, the buyer's not actively shopping. They're waiting for the right budget cycle, a leadership change, a project that fails internally. Something shifts and suddenly they need someone. And the window you actually get to close the deal when they are ready, when the budget is there, when the timing is right, the window is 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So the actual selling, in air quotes, happens in 2 to 4 weeks. But whether you're in the room for those 2 to 4 weeks depends on everything that has happened in the 2 to 3 years before. Is that correct?
That's it. That's the whole game. Then And the,
All right, end of the podcast.
and the thing that most people don't understand is that you cannot build that presence when you need it. You cannot show up week one of the 2 week window and earn the trust that should have been built over the years. It doesn't work that way. You have to be there before the moment exists.
Yeah. So by the time someone's ready to buy, it's almost too late to start your little touchy-feely experiment.
It is too late to start. You can get lucky, and there's times where that happens.
Guilty.
And let's push through. A referral comes in hot, and the timing lines up perfectly. But if you are counting a luck, you don't have a BD strategy. You have hope.
You're a harvester. And the agencies that are winning consistently, they're not luckier. They're just earlier to the game, right?
They're more brooms, and they got into those rooms a long time ago.
Yes, you are a true byproduct of that. So if this is true, I think most people who have been in business more than a few years will recognize it is true. Why does everyone keep defaulting to the harvest mode? Why do people stop maintaining the relationships that actually matter?
Um, because staying in touch with someone who isn't buying feels like wasted time. There's no immediate return. It doesn't show up anywhere. Nobody notices. You send a thoughtful note to someone who won't be a client for 2 years, and your Tuesday report looks exactly the same as if you didn't send it.
So the hot leads win.
The hot leads always win in the short term. You work the active pipeline, you chase the warm conversation, and the relationships that are 18 months away from converting, they just cool off. And by the time the budget, you're not the name they think of. Whoever stayed visible did.
Oh, so you probably never even know that you lost it.
That's the part I want people to really sit with. You don't lose those deals. You never see them.
You never saw them. Wow.
Yeah, never saw them. You were never in a running when they happened. The deal closed. The agency who was in the room won, and you have no idea. It doesn't show up as a loss anywhere. It just never happens.
All right, you have a number in this article we're referring to, which I'll put in the show notes, that I want to push on because it's a big claim. You say that 70 to 80% of new revenue comes from existing relationships. Where does that number come from?
Comes from 25 years of sitting with agencies and looking at their own books and our own agency. I don't have a study to point to. What I have is a pattern. I have sat with probably 100 agencies over the years and asked them, look at last 3 to 4 deals you closed. How many of them came from contact that was brand new to you? Brand spanking new. Somebody you never met, never worked with, nobody in your network knew. And how many came from someone who was already in your world in some form or another?
Yeah, so the number holds.
Every time. Somebody who hired them before, somebody who knew someone who had, someone who've been in contact with for a year or two. The generally cold close where a stranger found them and hired them with no prior relationship at all. It happens, but it's not that pattern. The pattern is warm almost always.
So the implication is that most agencies are spending most of their BD energy on the thing that generates 20% of their revenue.
And ignoring the thing that generates 80.
All right, so let's make this real. What does the long game actually look like in practice? Because I know when people hear build relationships, they don't always know what that means on the day to day.
Networking. Let's build a relationship.
Harvesting.
The first thing I tell people, you don't need a system. You need a habit. A system implies something you set up and run. A habit is something you actually do.
Yeah.
And the place to start is much smaller than most people think. Pick 20 or 30 people, not 100, not 1,000, 20 or 30 people who matter to your business. Clients you want to keep, clients you want to bring back, relationship that could become something real.
Well, that sounds like a short list.
That's intentional. Because the moment your list has 200 names on it, it stops being a relationship list and becomes a marketing list. And you manage those two things completely differently.
So again, I think we're going to name this. I had a title for this episode, but I think we're going to call it harvesting because it sounds like you're harvesting again with the long list.
Yeah, with 20 or 30 people, you can actually know what's going on in the world, what they're working on, and what they're worried about. What changed last month?
Yeah, and the human brain can only contain so many, thoughts, memories, contacts, whatever. And if you have a smaller list, and when something changes, a promotion, a company shift, a big announcement, you're able to reach out because you're more on the pulse of what they're thinking, what's going on.
Yeah, so the whole brain, how many contacts you can actually hold, if fun trivia point, that's where the Dunn number comes from. It's 150 active relationships,
Oh, okay.
by the way. The Dun& and Bradstreet number, that's actually
I
where it
love
comes from.
math like that. That's pretty cool.
That's the actual where that comes from, but with something real, not great news, congrats, is like the whole LinkedIn thing, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be say something specific. They just took a new role and you know their background and you know what that role is going to be hard for a specific reason. Say that. Show them you've been paying attention because when you do that once or twice over 2 years, you're not a name on their contact list anymore. You're someone who actually knows them.
All right, Bart, you've been known to tell a story or two on this podcast, so I'm going to take a turn now.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
there's an agency. Let's call them Ridgeline Creative. Brand and content work, about 3 million revenue, founder led. The founder met a woman named Elena at a conference in 2023. She was a CMO at a mid-sized SaaS company. They had a real conversation, not a pitch, just a conversation about where the brand was going, et cetera, et cetera. What her challenges were. He wrote down what they talked about when he got home.
That last part matters more than it
All right,
sounds.
we'll come back to that. So they loosely stayed in touch, not on a schedule. He read what she posted, and when he had something relevant to say, he said it. So about a year later, early in 2024, she moved to a new company, VP of marketing, bigger role, bigger company, bigger scope. He sent her a note, not just about work, just that looks like a big move. Good luck with the first few months. She replied, and they had a short call.
At no point is he really trying to sell anything.
Right. So there's no pitch, no nothing. Fast forward 2.5 years, on a random Tuesday, she calls him. Her company needs a full brand overhaul, new positioning, new visual system, content infrastructure, 6-figure engagement. She had a short list. He was on top of it. That's how did he get that? That's what I want you to answer.
I mean, because she trusted him, not because he was the best agency she ever heard of, not because his website was the most impressive, because over 2.5 years, every time he showed up, it was about her, what she was working on, what she was thinking about. He remembered what they talked about the first time they have met, and he came back to it. The kind of attention is just rare. When the moment came when she had a real project and a real budget, he was the obvious name, not because he pitched her hardest, because he never made her feel like he was just selling to her.
Right. So he was top of mind, not by, the company newsletter, hey, big project. It was just staying kind of top of mind without a hard sell. So let's just say the close took, I don't know, 3 weeks.
Close always goes fast when the trust is already there. That's the pattern. Long runway, fast close every time. And people want to work with people they like and
Yeah,
know.
I agree with that. You said something in the article that I want to read back to you because I think it's the most honest thing in the whole piece. You said, you will stay in touch with people for 2 years and nothing will happen. Then on a random Tuesday in month 28, you'll get a call that turns into the biggest engagement your firm has signed in 3 years. Or you won't. So it kind of relates back to my fictional story. You'll either get it or you won't.
Sure. Or you want. Some relationships don't convert. That is real. Not every Elena becomes a client. If you are staying in touch with people because you expect every conversation to eventually pay off, you burn out and you will stop because it becomes transactional.
Yeah.
The people who stay in it over time, they're actually interested in the people they are staying close to. The business follows from that. It is not the other way around. And even if Elena doesn't become a client, her friends will.
Right. And as you had said, you'll get burned out and you'll get sad. You'll get real sad because you'll think you're a failure because you're just congrats, congrats, congrats. You're harvesting, but the habit only works if it's genuine, right?
You cannot fake this over 30 months. People are not that easily fooled. If your interest is real, they feel it. If it's a tactic, they'll feel that too.
Excellent. What's the one thing you want someone to walk away from this episode with?
The contacts you are not calling right now are your future pipeline. Not maybe, they are. The deals you close next year are sitting in the relationships you are already have today. The question is simply whether you are taking care of them.
Yeah.
And a little bit point in this is like you have to just give without accepting return and keep on giving. At some point, that's going to come back to you. It doesn't matter if that person doesn't answer you for a year or whatever. Happens all the time. You can reps like you can do like meetings and phone calls, and you're the one that initiates it. You don't have to have them initiate it.
All
Just
right,
very quick.
we're gonna stretch this out. So at what point do you decide to disengage, or is there ever a point, or do you just blindly keep going?
I don't think it's blindly. I think it's just having, and I know we talked about not the systems in the beginning, but having a bit of a system of like, this is who your people are. This is how you follow up. Some of them, they get from a monthly email or a monthly check-in or quarterly, and then you get every 6 months, and you just kind of pick up on that kind of stuff. There's a whole sort of strategy a little bit to this, as much as we said it shouldn't be. Um, but your first option is to do that small work.
Yeah, that small habit, because that, as all the self-help gurus, small habits become big things, et cetera, et cetera.
It's kind of like the gym, though. Like you're not gonna
Yeah.
walk in the gym without working out for a while and go lift.
What we say? What we say? Right? You got to put the reps in. Got to put the reps in.
Right? So like getting used to it, putting it in your calendar. Like that's how sort of when we started with consulting, we're like, you have to have a little bit of a habit across the board. And that doesn't only go for just your personal stuff or like little consulting. That goes through BD world, which our product Red String will help you through. But it's a habit of cadences of figuring out how you actually do touch points.
Excellent. All right, folks, if today's episode hit close to home, the long game, the relationships, all of it, the place to go deeper is the playbook. That is our weekly newsletter where Bart publishes this type of thinking every week. Subscribe at playbook.agencyfocus.xyz. And if you want to see how our software product, Red String, helps you keep on top of exactly these relationships, the lapsed clients, the warm contacts, the people who are 18 months away from being ready, send us an email at demo@redstringapp.xyz, and we will get you an early demo. We'll have all this information in the show notes because I know people have terrible memories. Bart, as always, this stuff sounds obvious until you realize nobody's actually doing it.
Yeah, if it was easy, everybody be doing it.
That's true. All right, we'll talk soon. The Playbook Podcast is produced by and for Agency Focus at 14:59 p.m. Episodes drop weekly. Find us wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch us on the YouTubes. See ya.
See ya.
What do you do now,